History often remembers the names of generals, the strategies of battles, and the dates of victories. But the true cost of war lies hidden in the silence of the ordinary soldiers, those who carried rifles too heavy for their shoulders, those who froze in the snow, and those whose names never made it into the history books. Among them was Ivan Petrov, a 19-year-old boy from a small Russian village, thrown into the furnace of the Battle of Stalingrad. It was the autumn of 1942, and Stalingrad was no longer a city but a broken skeleton of stone and steel. Fires raged across the skyline, painting the sky black. Civilians fled, clutching whatever they could carry, while soldiers like Ivan marched into the ruins with rifles and fear. The order was clear: defend the city at all costs. No retreat, no surrender. Ivan carried almost nothing, just a rifle, half a loaf of bread, and a small photograph of his mother stitched into his coat pocket. He could still hear her last words whispered at the station. "Come back to me, Vanya, promise me." He had nodded, but in his heart, he knew promises meant little in a place like this. The train that brought him here was already gone. The city ahead would either make him a hero or bury him with countless others. The road into Stalingrad was like walking into the mouth of hell. The closer Ivan and his comrades came, the more the ground shook beneath their boots. The thunder of artillery was constant, echoing through the ruined factories and shattered homes. The air smelled of smoke, metal, and death. Every few steps, Ivan passed reminders of what awaited him: shattered helmets half buried in mud, the broken wheels of abandoned wagons, the lifeless forms of soldiers who had marched this way before. Refugees staggered past them in the opposite direction, women clutching crying children, old men leaning on sticks, their faces pale with fear. None of them spoke. Their eyes said enough. Ivan tried not to look, but he couldn't help it. Among them was a little boy no older than 6, holding a crust of bread in his tiny hand. For a moment he reached toward Ivan as if offering it. Ivan's stomach growled, but he forced himself to shake his head. That child needed it more than he did. By the time Ivan caught his first glimpse of Stalingrad, the sun had nearly set. The entire horizon glowed red from fire. Towers of smoke curled into the sky like fingers clawing at the heavens. The city was no longer alive. It was a graveyard of concrete and ash. And yet, this was where he was expected to fight, to survive, and perhaps to die. When Ivan finally stepped inside the city, it felt like entering a tomb. Stalingrad was reduced to rubble, entire neighborhoods flattened, factories gutted by fire, streets littered with broken bricks and glass. The city had once been alive, full of workers, shops, and laughter. Now only silence and gunfire remained. His unit was assigned to defend a crumbling apartment block. There were no proper walls left, only holes blown open by artillery. At night, the men huddled in corners, their breath turning to mist in the freezing air. Food was so scarce that even scraps became treasures. Once, Ivan shared half a frozen potato with 3 other soldiers. They boiled leather straps into a thin soup, pretending it was meat. Every bite was an illusion against hunger. Sleep never lasted long. The nights were pierced by the crack of sniper fire, the whistle of shells, and the groans of the wounded. Rats scurried across the rubble, fat from feeding on the dead. Ivan often lay awake staring at the ceiling, or what was left of it, wondering if tomorrow would be his last. And yet, even in this graveyard of a city, life clung on. Soldiers whispered stories of home. They carved their names into the broken walls, desperate not to be forgotten. Ivan pressed his hand against his pocket where his mother's photograph rested. In a place where death was everywhere, that small picture was the only piece of life he had left.